1 car, because this is basically just flat. Also, I should add, the main reason I said Castle Combe was bad for Formula 1 back in the home race calendar video is because it's tiny. Look at this! A nice track then, but maybe lacking some of the variety it needs to become one of the greats. I'm thinking high B tier, low A, B, A, B, A. I'm gonna go A tier. I like it. And is it better than the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya? This one pains me to say because I do love the Barcelona track, but it might be. I'm going to stick it on here with a maybe tag. Let me know if you agree. Off to Canada now, an absolutely enormous country which we have to try and trackify with only 14 corners. All of the islands up in the north are close enough that I am going to include them, and so we get a track that looks something like this. I think the lower corner count might have helped Canada here, because this thing gives me a vibe similar to Interlagos, which is, you know, decent. Basically, the entire lap is a high and medium speed whirlwind with a couple of hairpins thrown in to test your hot tyres after you've been blasting it through the fast first sector. And of these hairpins, turn 10 down at the bottom of the Hudson is a perfect example of a hairpin done right. Just look at the lines on the way in here. You come through turn 9 trying to carry as much speed as possible, but at the same time have to get yourself over to the other side of the track to maximize your entry through the hairpin. Oh, it is beautiful. An old school high speed track for Canada then, with some corners that are sure to be fan favorites, like the fast follow through of turn 1 or the long edge of grip left-hander of turn 8. Combine that with the fact that this has some amazing corner names: Newfie, Erie, Baffin. This thing is an undeniable banger, and so the only tough decision here is whether this thing is a solid A tier or whether it makes its way up into the all-elusive S tier. If it looks like Interlagos, that's enough for me. S tier. And it's going on the board too. Sorry Montreal, but you don't have any corners called Baffin, do you? Austria up next, and if you thought I was being stingy on corners in Canada, just wait until you see this, because we only have 10 corners to play with. After a lot of tweaking to get down to 10 corners, I ended up with this. This thing has the feel of an old school track and actually looks pretty similar to Mossport in Canada. Turn 9 is the slowest corner on this track, and it's not even that slow. Other than that, we have some high-speed behemoths like the tightening turn 2, which you enter at 225 miles per hour. It's similar to maybe Parabolica at Monza. Expect some crashes. And that's not to mention turn 1 before it, which is similar to maybe Pouon or Blanchimont at Spa, and so just getting round to turn 4 on this track is a major accomplishment. This is one for anyone who enjoys that kind of old school high speed circuit, and I can't deny that a hot lap around here would be a lot of fun, but I am getting a little concerned about the dirty air problem once more, and having turns 2, 4 and 9 as our only overtaking opportunities, we're not going to get any overtaking. I get the feeling that fans would like this place, but similar to fan favourites like Spa, it won't always give us an exciting race. Therefore, I'm going to stick it up in B tier, because despite its problems, I wouldn't mind just aimlessly watching cars fling themselves around this place, and you know we're going to get some big crashes in the race. And so we get to the UK. As I mentioned before, we're going to be leaving out Northern Ireland because it's just too far away, and we're actually going to be leaving out Orkney and the Shetland Islands as well. It's a shame because they both have a town called Twat, which I do think would make a good corner name for cultural reasons. Which just leaves us with Great Britain, which for those who don't know refers to the big island in the middle here and not all the other gubbins in the sea. Silverstone gives us 18 corners to play with, but maybe it shouldn't, because I do not like that. We start with the line up near Newcastle and race our way down to turn 1, which you could call the Norfolk curve, but I much prefer to call Skegness, just to confuse all of you who are not from here and are now wondering whether that's a real place name or I just made it up to sound funny. That then brings us into a slow, windy first sector with a tight chicane at London, before we race along the south coast to the hairpin at Land's End. We then get this incredible stop-start series of hairpins and 90-degree corners as we head up the west coast, which just looks awful. Scotland is a bit better, and you could have some fun flinging yourself through turn 14, but after that, it's stop-start again, and so the flow of this track never really gets going. Just too many corners, too close together, killing off any flow and any semblance of enjoyment along with it. This thing is going at least down in C tier, but I'm looking at San Marino and Japan, and they at least have some nice sections. I don't want to drive any of this UK track, and so I'm thinking, much like everything that happens within this island, just a bit crap, mate. The UK is going in D tier, and I'm going to get some angry comments, I know. And with that, we get to the halfway point in the 2025 season. But those of you who have looked down below are seeing that we're at the end of this video. Doing 24 tracks makes this the biggest tracks project so far, but I wanted to give each country enough time to rate them properly. So rather than make this video way too long, meaning you guys wouldn't click it, I thought it's better to take a little breather and we can all come back for a part 2 and rate the second half of this season. Will anywhere make it up to the elusive S tier with Canada, Italy, the Netherlands, the United States? I guess we'll have to find out next time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, why not subscribe so you don't miss part 2? If this video is more than 1 week old, that should already be out, but you can subscribe anyway, it's a pretty cool thing to do. Thank you for watching this video, thank you to Saley for sponsoring this video, I have been Mr. V, and I will Mr. C you later.
They're coming straight in. Trust me, I've got nothing.
I am the right then back. Cover! I am the
Well, it seems that I have another shot at you. I can screw up my only chance to into you. Will destroy everything that we have built. I will try to make you feel all of this guilt. Prepare now, cause I'm gonna dunk you much harder. This is how I will stop your evil plan now. Finally, it's your only goal to kill me. Resets have taught you to memorize my bones. You know this is not the first time that I've won. This is how I will stop your final plan. Black no king, come on and try again. Black was more, what's the point in sending you lately? That's all the will I had. Oh well, if it wasn't, that's just sad. Black was more, you're killing me now. Black was more, you do know you're going down after all this effort that I put in. When we taking out in just one hand. It's a beautiful day outside, you know, such a day that'd be ideal to enjoy, preferably with everyone you befriended away and forgot they are all dead. Why is the path that you've chosen? I don't understand your emotions, but to be frank, I don't have the emotions of a killer. You told me plenty of things that you have done, falling down to kill all those I love. The power that you contain, determination, I will take it from you. Your resets, making timelines in our own world. Your wrongdoings make everything worse, you see. Cause and effect, all these portals opening. We can see what could have happened to you. Space and time shouldn't be messed with, he told me. All this hell that you made because of the resets. Now I see that you wouldn't have to reset if you weren't such a huge piece of shit. My percent, he could talk it out from this back, but he couldn't see the bad. He gave you every chance in the world, and if he knew what you do, you'd be sent to hell. Melting away is what determination does to us, but I needed it to survive. Standing here with a knife in your grass, you won't ever let go from your class. Why must you and them? Well, it seems that I have another shot at you. I could screw up, my only chance to ensue. You will destroy everything that we have built. I will try to make you feel all of this guilt. Block no kid, come on and try again. Block was small, what's the point in this then? Now I notice if you really try to win, then I'll still lose against your sin. Block was more, I cannot keep this up. Block was more, I still can't care enough. I just had to push through a little longer than at last. I'll have stopped your slaughter. Block was more, my end is approaching. Block was more, I'm up against like you can't afford to lose. So push to the end, even though my limits will bend. Block was more, my life is fading. Block was more, my will is breaking. I know I can't keep up any longer. I can't let the slaughter continue. Here at last, someone's only goal to kill me. Many resets have made you immune to me, but this is not the first time that I have won. This is how I will stop your final plan. I am losing my mind, I can continue now. I'm sorry, but life is too cruel for us. What's this? I'm still standing here now. What happened? All I remember is going down. You actually tried to murder me, but I can't allow that to conquer. Do you enjoy all the suffering that you've caused? Why must you end every friendship you cross?
Is this really
you
what you
enjoy
want?
always taking the brutal path? All my friends begging you to stop your wrath. Our soul's enigma, they shine upon you. You're facing what a last fear from your past. You forgot about him, but he did not forget us. And this once and for all, and now it's time to fight for your life.
Without you.
Enigmatic encounters all you wanted. Everyone fleeing from your madness. Of those suffered a flood turning into ashes. All this pain just for you to end. And the question I tried to see the good inside you. Now I understand what's going through. Just a demon trying to escape. I'll do my best to make them reshape. You do know what you're doing. Let's say goodbye to all of my friends. But sadly, though you already killed them, you've opened something bigger than you can manage. But now it's time to show all of Guess's power. Genocide was not something you intended before all of this. Anything but excite you for you to make you feel bliss. Now I understand why you're doing this. I just have to make you miss. Please, will you just go back here? Some of you down high thought I could save them, but I failed them. Lost from your blade and my sanity lost from genocide. No one is left, all of them have died. Too much power from anger and guilt started us all to prevent rebellion. The pirates thought there was good new Bastion to dust. No one left to trust. I'll stop you standing on my ground. Even be friends one day, please. Maybe you won't understand why. Nah, it is all just a lie. I can't trust anyone anymore. Those fall into a night held by you, they scream. Why must you do all the things that you do? Just give up and we may all forgive you. It's not too late, you aren't too far gone yet. Space and time was a thing I had to witness. The Gasser said this will be interesting. You know that you are wrong. I just want to go back to where I belong.
We want to go back to love to life, but you have taken everything from the only people we ever loved. Just let go of your hope, you're falling down the slope. Just let us go back to what we used to know. You can't win this fight or determination fights back, but now it's time to just say goodbye.
Why must you continue on this path like this? We all loved, but you crushed it underground. Time to give all I have, time to say goodbye. Time to die, cause we all have won, and now this monster's here now. Please just don't ever do this in another reset. Human, I beg of you, don't do this all over again. We all just wanna die down here in the underground. Iris, is that you?
crunchy seafood, sarap! Manguaw! Stay cool in the heat of the game with their Rexona Ice Cool.
The coolest of all time.
Wow, ano sineselebrate natin ngayon?
Tapos ka ng homework ko. Well, tatapos na.
There's always a reason to enjoy the slow-melting, long-lasting taste of Cadbury.
Mag-Vicks Inhaler for fast relief mula sa baradong ilong. Anytime, anywhere. Vicks Inhaler.
Bridge to banking made beautiful.
Cheers!
Marty's Cracklin, sarap kainuman.
Alright team, we're transitioning to Flak, but tasks are still gonna be on Bullfrog.
Did nobody see my poppycock post? There was no clappy claps on it.
Make sure you track your time on Fireplace. Then, ping me on SmackDog.
Guys, we don't need any of those anymore. We have ClickUp.
Where do we chat?
ClickUp.
What about managing projects?
ClickUp.
Docs.
Also ClickUp.
AI.
It's all ClickUp.
Yeah, but how do we get Adam's dog to stop peeing in the office?
Not really sure about that one, but for everything else, we have ClickUp.
celebration, indulge in our crispy and delicious honey-cured bacon. Pure Foods Deli.
Kitty, what are you doing down here? Did I not see you before? Oh, you're so Portuguese.
Okay, fine.
Pag di na kaya ang stress, mag-break na kayo. Refresh with Smartsy, made with real fruit juice and packed with